Claire Radish, someone like you who can't even use magic properly, is not fit to be a prince's bride. Right now, I'm breaking off our engagement. The prince announced in a loud voice. Prince Oliver, you are so cruel. I even feel a little sorry for her, said Carol and clung tightly to the prince. You have a huge supply of magical power, but you don't use it. Besides, you've been taking advantage of your status and bullying poor Carol, the prince went on to say. How much is it? Why does he keep saying the same thing? Why does he accuse me of things I didn't do? Claire thought to herself sadly. Claire had known Prince Oliver for over 7 years. When they entered the Royal Academy, the girl constantly covered for him. The prince had his own peculiarities of character. Oliver often considered himself superior to others, so even at the entrance ceremony, he ignored the lower-class nobles. At the martial arts tournament, the prince used his power to rig fights. Claire was forced to become his bride. The girl's main task was to solve the problems that the prince created. Today, the prince again showed himself in a bad way. He fell in love with the baron's daughter and broke off the engagement with Claire, the daughter of the Margrave, in front of everyone's eyes. In the eyes of the public, Carol had no political value. What am I even doing here, and why have I gotten myself into such an unpleasant situation? If I don't do anything now, it's only going to get worse. Claire thought to herself. Even my mother said you weren't right for me. You have magic power in you, but you don't use magic. It seems like some kind of joke. You're taking full advantage of my fiance's place, but you don't use the power, noted the prince. It would be too good if the queen were on my side. Perhaps breaking off the engagement is indeed an excellent solution. I would be better off agreeing to the proposal, however. It could lead to the spreading of unpleasant rumors about me. I'm sure many nobles will call me an inept woman who has been living off the prince for a long time. Such rumors will surely get my father in trouble. I have to correct the prince's mistakes again, though, just like before, Claire thought. Your Highness, do you realize what I'm showing you right now? Claire raised 3 fingers up. Yes, you are showing me fingers right now, replied the prince. I am not just showing you fingers. It was the 3 times I suggested you break the engagement. The first time was 2 years ago. That day I told you that I could not be your bride because I was unable to use my magic. You answered me then that magic does not come immediately, so you should wait a little longer. You and I agreed to revisit this conversation in a year, but after a year I was unable to use magic again, so I asked to break the engagement again. The second time, you didn't want to break the engagement either. You again asked me to wait a little longer, but nothing changed. I never learned how to use magic. A couple months ago, I found out about you developing feelings for Carol. I asked you again for an annulment of the engagement. I even sent an official request, so there must be records on file. After a while, I received a reply from you. You wrote that you were completely comfortable with the fact that I don't know how to use my power, and Carol is just another candidate for marriage. To keep me from occupying you with unnecessary questions and conversations, you assigned me a lot of work. I worked long hours, sometimes not even sleeping. And now that I've finished my work and come to this evening, you're telling me to break off my engagement? That's kind of cruel. Since I am the prince's fiancé, I have had a bodyguard presented to me 24 hours a day. You can ask him about anything. I'm sure our families have kept letters. You may examine them carefully. I want to assure you that I had no time to abuse Mrs. Carroll. No matter how things develop further, I can rest assured my family's reputation will not suffer now, thought Claire, and loudly announced that she agreed to break the engagement. Now allow me to bow out. I still have reports to turn in today. Gentlemen, I'm sorry you had to witness all of this. Claire bowed low before her guests. Suddenly, the prince ordered the girl to be grabbed. When Claire opened her eyes, she saw that she was in a prison cell. The girl remembered that when she tried to break free, she suddenly felt a surge of magic. Had her power begun to break through? Looking out of the window, the girl realized that she was inside the royal palace. Most likely the prince was up to something, so he hurriedly put her behind bars. Claire knew that the queen would be willing to do anything to correct her son's shame. The woman was no stranger to anything, so she might accuse Claire and her father of some sort of conspiracy. To prevent that from happening, I have to run away from here and as soon as possible. But how do I do that? Should I pretend to be sick? Or try to escape as soon as the guard opens the door? No, that's definitely not going to work, Claire thought to herself. Suddenly, the girl heard someone's meow. Turning around, she noticed a bright red cat on the bed. Claire was familiar with this kind of cat. They were unusual animals and magical creatures with strong magic. Tell me, where did you come from here? Whose are you? My name is Claire. What's yours? Asked the girl to the cat. This prison is near the north gate, the cat started to say, which scared the girl a lot. Yes, there were magical animals in this world, but they couldn't talk. Jumping up on the spot, Claire shouted loudly, "Don't make any noise or you'll rat me out. I don't have time to explain everything to you, so I'll keep it short. First of all, your situation is pretty dire. It all came about because you are a witch, just like me," the cat said in a quiet voice. Claire was well aware that witches were only born once every 10 years. They can use special magic, not the power of the 4 elements. From the surprised look on your face, I can conclude your power has awakened quite recently, the cat remarked. Yes, I know that I do have a huge reserve of magic power, but I never learned how to use it, Claire exclaimed. It's understandable, since we can't use normal 4-element magic. It's not strange that you haven't been able to use it. You're in an extremely delicate position at the moment. You know what they do to witches in our country, don't you? The cat asked. Saddened, Claire bowed her head low. Witches were hated in this country. If anyone found out that a witch was born in her family, it would be a great shame. This situation was further exacerbated by the fact that Claire had been the prince's fiance for many years. You have 2 options for how things will unfold. 1, you stay here and go with the flow. 2, you run away with me right now. I promise to help you with everything since you and I are in the same position, said the cat to the girl. But know this, if you decide to run away with me and take my help, you will be indebted to me in the future. Claire was ready for any conditions, just to escape from the prison as soon as possible. The cat asked the girl to take her in her arms. She had invisibility magic that could extend to Claire as well. With the help of invisibility magic, the girl managed to get out of the prison. Claire took a quick step towards the main gate of the royal palace. "Woman, stop!" shouted a man who suddenly appeared. "We're out of luck. It's a court magician. He is capable of recognizing practically any magic. He even has the power to see my invisibility magic." In a doomed voice, the cat said, "I saw you escape from the prison. Turn to face me," ordered the man. Turning around and looking at the man, Claire immediately recognized him. It was the 3rd Prince Gilbert. He was considered the #1 catcher in the capital. He liked to play with women's hearts. He made girls fall in love with him. But he never married. Why did he get in my way? Claire thought doomfully. The 3rd Prince Gilbert was Prince Oliver's older brother. He always remained calm and cool-headed. Gilbert inherited magic from his mother, who was a court magician. He was also skillful with a sword, so he became a commander of knights in a short time. Claire had always tried to avoid Prince Gilbert because of his reputation as a womanizer. Suddenly, there was a shout from the guards. They had gotten wind of the girl's escape. "Of course, it will be too big on you, but you can use it to hide your face." Gilbert took off his cloak and threw it over the girl's shoulders. "Do you have somewhere to run to?" asked Gilbert. "Yes, I know one place where I will be safe," replied the girl. "There is some money in my pocket. You'll need them." The prince pointed with his finger to the inner pocket of his cloak. "Are you going to let me escape? Why are you doing this?" Claire wondered. "I know you are not the kind of person capable of doing evil," replied Gilbert. Claire thanked Gilbert for his help and disappeared behind the main gate of the royal palace. And how could you let this happen? Once I left for a while, Claire fled. On top of that, you used such force that she even fainted. In a displeased tone, the Queen muttered, "But Mother, you said yourself that Claire was a talentless woman, and that she couldn't use magic," resented Oliver. "Yes, that is true, but did I ask you to break the engagement publicly? You are now, Carol. You are the daughter of the local raven, and the Margrave's daughter easily caught you in a lie. Did you not realize this is where it was going?" the Queen asked the girl. "Is there a shred of reason in your pink-haired head? What were you just thinking about?" "But it's not a lie! She was really messing with me!" Carol exclaimed. "She was only teaching you the basic rules of etiquette. If you weren't taught such little things, she had nothing to do with it," said the Queen to the girl. "But that doesn't change the fact that Claire allowed herself too much. On top of that, I really love Carol, and I wouldn't let him hurt her to anyone," exclaimed Oliver. "Yeah, trouble. You don't seem to fully realize what you've done. I will try to explain it to you more clearly," said the Queen, stretching her vowels. "Oliver, if you don't want to be disinherited, you have to achieve results higher than Claire's from the previous year. It's also up to you to repair your ruined reputation. You were going to become student council president next year, weren't you? Become one and show that you're better than Claire, who held that position the previous year. You do well, you'll regain your reputation. As for you, Carol, actually, I'd like you to disappear and never appear in front of me again, but Oliver would probably be adamantly opposed to that, so I'm going to make one condition for you." Well, why did they have to have something like this happen? The ceremony to choose the crown prince is next year. Gilbert beats Oliver in both magic and fencing. The Queen thought to herself as Oliver and Claire left her office. Fortunately, Gilbert does not have a fiance at the moment, so he is not fit to be heir to the throne. Oliver had Claire. The Margrave's daughter is intelligent, hard-working, and with an excellent reputation. Why would he choose an idiot over the Baron's daughter? So, what am I supposed to do now? First, I have to deal with Claire's disappearance. Second, I need to spread the rumor that Claire and Oliver have remained good friends and that their relationship broke down because of misunderstandings. When I raise Oliver's reputation and find Claire, I'll continue to use her skills. Most likely, I'll still have to make her submit. I'll make her take responsibility for this scandal. She can't resist my will. For 3 weeks in a row now, Claire had been living in Ram's house. During that time, the cat girl had taught her how to prepare simple potions. "This peaceful life is like a dream to me. For 7 whole years, I haven't had a single free moment to do what I want to do," mumbled Claire, sweetly stretching herself. Exactly 7 years ago, the previous crown prince, the second prince, and his fiancée passed away during an epidemic. As the king's other sons grew older, it was time to appoint a new crown prince. The main candidate for the role of crown prince was the son of the king's mistress, the third Prince Gilbert. Although he was the child of the mistress, he was good at everything. Gilbert ran the army, defended the city from monsters, and was the court magician. The second candidate for the role of crown prince was the fourth Prince Oliver. He was the son of the current queen. It was the Clare family that helped him strengthen his position. 7 years ago, the current queen decided to take Claire under her wing. She assigned the girl a strict etiquette teacher. Whenever Claire did something wrong, the etiquette teacher would slap her on the wrist with a pointer. Thus began 7 years of hell. Claire couldn't say anything to the queen, so she endured everything. The queen made the girl come to her regularly. The woman kept a close eye on her training. The queen wanted to make Claire a worthy bride for her son. Oliver is to be the next crown prince, so you will support him in everything, the queen announced one day. Since that day, Claire had to keep a constant eye on the spoiled idiot, Prince Oliver. Why was it before that I always thought the queen's orders were absolute? Even though my parents protested, I still obeyed the queen unconditionally. It's only now that I realize how lucky I am that the engagement was broken off, Claire thought to herself. The girl looked into the witch Ram's room. Ram not only took Claire out of her cell in the guise of a cat, but also began to teach her various spells. Ram was quite a powerful witch. Her element was darkness. She could easily change her appearance and physical abilities. Ram suggested that Claire have a tea party in nature. I have 3 pieces of news for you from the capital. First, the Queen and her underlings have decided that you have returned to your father's lands. There is a rumor in the city that Prince Oliver sends a bouquet of flowers there every day. Narrated, Ram. Secondly, there is a large-scale construction project going on in the Margrave's territory, so builders have been hired. It seems that this is how the royal family paid off your father. The third news is about Prince Gilbert. He recently led his knights into battle to the east. They say hordes of monsters are ravaging villages there. As soon as Claire escaped with the witch ram, she immediately wrote a letter to her father. She let him know that she had turned out to be a witch and that she was safe for the moment. This information did not please the Margrave, but he decided to support his daughter. Since her father was doing well, Claire wasn't worried about him at all. She was worried about Gilbert. Normally, princes are forbidden to go on dangerous treks, but Gilbert himself was constantly raring to go there. Why have you become sad? Are you really worried about Gilbert? Asked Ram. Of course, for he helped me escape. I'm grateful for that, and I'd like to thank him properly, replied Claire. Is that so? Then we have nothing left but to sit here and quietly wait for his return. I, on the other hand, just wanted an apprentice with the same element as me. I'm glad I met you, Ram said thoughtfully. Claire was grateful to Ram and Gilbert for their help. Thanks to them, she could live a quiet and peaceful life. In order not to worry in vain, Claire decided to go deeper into her studies. She spent days and nights reading books on medicine and magic. She also helped Ram to make various medicines and potions. Claire had only one problem. It was hard for her to do cleaning and housekeeping because throughout her life, the girl constantly had maids and governesses. Wow, what a nice girl here. I'm sorry if I scared you. My name is Yury, and I am a witch. I've come for a cure. A smiling girl approached Claire. And this is my apprentice, Noah. She is half human, half animal. Beastmen are very rare in this country. The girl introduced a cute girl with cat ears in front of Claire. Yury, long time no see. It's good that you came. I have a whole bunch of medicines piled up here, Ram exclaimed. I'm sorry I haven't visited you for a long time. I had a lot of urgent work to do with setting up my magic tools. I recently cleared everything out, so I had time to come to you, explained Yury. Yury really liked the medicines Claire had prepared. Over tea, Ram told Claire that Yury had come to them from a neighboring country. There, she keeps a small store where she sells witches' potions. Since this trade is illegal, only a few people know about the store. Yury tells Claire that she is in the business of customizing magical instruments. She makes contract spheres that witches use to make contracts. These spheres can record an image. They are used as proof of signing a contract. Yury, listen, did you happen to be the one who set up the teleportation circle in this forest? Claire asked. And you're a guesser. That circle is connected to my store. By the way, I came here because of you. Just recently, I heard that my friend's new apprentice is an aristocrat. I became extremely curious about it. I'm glad you turned out to be a good girl. Before Claire knew it, it was fall. She had been living in the Ram house for over 10 months now. Yury and Noah came to the girl's house every month to pick up new medications. Claire, try to be extra careful today, Yury asked Claire during tea time. I have received reliable information from my source that it could be extremely dangerous in the capital today. It is said that an assassination of an important person is being plotted. Many people are certain that today is the day they will try to assassinate Prince Gilbert. Since it's too dangerous to attack the prince openly, I think they'll try to poison him today. For hours on end, Claire had been unable to find a place to sit. She didn't know how she should act in the current situation. According to Yury's words, Gilbert is planning to be poisoned. The customers of her store are bigwigs of different kingdoms and guilds. Her information has never been wrong, so she can be trusted. thought Claire paced around the room. And I'm not at all surprised that an assassination attempt is being planned on Gilbert. It's all because of the title of Crown Prince. Just a few months ago, there was no doubt in anyone's mind that Oliver would be. After all, he had a fiance he cared for. But then, when Oliver made a scene at that party, his reputation was shaken. At the same time, Gilbert proved himself brilliant in exterminating the monsters in the East. The situation has changed drastically. There are 4 months left until the Crown Prince is elected. No wonder they are desperate and willing to go in for the kill. I can't let the man who once saved me die. I still haven't thanked him enough. I need to figure out how to save him. At the moment, I can't send him a letter since I'm a wanted man. On top of that, there is a rumor going around the capital that I am a pretty powerful witch. I need to help him without anyone noticing. Using magic, Claire changed her hair and eye. The girl walked over to the door where Yury had set up 2 teleportation circles. One of them could be used to teleport to the capital. It's been so long since I've been here. I usually traveled around the capital in a carriage. I've never walked here. I finally felt the intoxicating feeling of freedom, the girl exclaimed after finding herself in the capital. Suddenly, Claire heard the excited shouting of the girls. Prince Gilbert had arrived in the square. Claire hurriedly hid behind the nearest corner of the building. And why are they so fanatical about him? I mean, he's just an ordinary man. There's nothing special about him, Claire thought to herself. Claire reminded herself that she had come here to rescue Gilbert. She planned to use the poison resistance magic on him. It was a very simple spell. It allowed the body to deal with any poison that entered a person's body. This spell had one weakness. It was impossible to cast it without body contact. Luckily, there was a crowd of girls clustered around Gilbert where they could get lost and touch him unnoticed. Claire made several attempts to sneak into Gilbert, but she was unsuccessful. The girls stood in a tight ring. After unsuccessful attempts, Claire decided to sneak into the prince's house. Only there would she be able to touch him. Turning into a cat, Claire snuck into the knight's dormitory where Prince Gilbert lived. I've never entered a man's room before, but to save Gilbert, I have to go for it, Claire thought to herself. Entering Gilbert's room, the girl saw it in perfect order. Claire thought wistfully that the prince was much more diligent in the cleaning business than she was. "Wow, you even have a collar," Gilbert exclaimed as he entered the room. "You're most likely the cat of the man who lived in this room before me. You must be hungry, right?" asked the cat Gilbert. Gilbert placed a plate of brownies in front of the cat. Claire got excited, for they were her favorite brownies. He usually always has an unemotional and cold look, but it turns out he can talk in a gentle voice. He treated an ordinary cat to expensive sweets. His room is sparkling clean. Claire thought to herself. "The floor is dragging, so sit next to me," said Gilbert and patted the couch next to him. Claire was glad at this offer, for she had the opportunity to touch the prince. Claire sat down next to the prince and didn't notice how she fell asleep. Before she fell asleep, she remembered that Gilbert's mother, who died 7 years ago, always had a cat on her shoulder. When Claire opened her eyes, she noticed that the prince was sleeping sweetly on his bed. The girl jumped on my bed to cast a spell. Claire touched Gilbert with her soft cat paws and cast a poison resistance spell on him. After that, the girl left the room. "Listen, I'll be gone for about a month. Some urgent business came up. I need to customize some magical tools. It's a long drive, and the customization will take some time," said Yury. "If you want, you can come with me. I won't make you do anything. You can spend your time however you want. It'll be a change of scenery for you. You won't bother me at all. I'll have more fun with you." This offer was extremely tempting to Claire. She had long wanted to see the work of other witches, see other countries, but she didn't want to leave town while Gilbert was in danger. A few hours later, Claire took on the form of a cat again and went to Gilbert's house. She really wanted to check on his well-being. "You came to see me again? Come on in, I'll treat you right now. I have cookies from the bronze pastry shop today," said Gilbert, noticing the cat on the doorstep of his room. Claire happily ate all the cookies Gilbert gave her. Gilbert has a large supply of magical power, so the effect may have to be renewed. I know it's wrong to come to his room so often, but there's no other way. Besides, I can't turn down such delicious sweets. Claire thought. Gilbert is not what they say he is. Even though he's called a womanizer, I see absolutely no evidence of that. His room is filled with sophisticated books on tactics, economics, and politics. Oliver, on the other hand, never reads such books. What if everything said about him was a lie? What if he's not really like that? But then again, they don't call him a womanizer for nothing. And if he isn't, then why isn't he trying to disprove that rumor? I have to get up early tomorrow, so I'll go to bed early tonight. By the way, you have a very intelligent look in your eyes. I sometimes feel like I'm talking to a person, said Gilbert to the cat. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Gilbert gently stroked the cat's head. What am I even doing here? Come to think of it, I only come here for the goodies. I also like its warmth and coziness. Maybe I come here because Gilbert, like me, is very lonely, Claire thought to herself. Ram went to another country to tighten up her skill. Yury has gone to customize her magic tools. I am home alone all day long. Gilbert, when he finishes his work, also spends his evenings alone. Perhaps he and I are alike in that. Claire walked over to the sleeping Gilbert and touched him with her paw. The girl sensed that there was poison in the prince's body. It's definitely a trace of poison. It is almost dissolved, but I'm sure of its presence. Gilbert was given a small dose this time. But who would dare to do such a thing? Back home, Claire took up books that described all sorts of poisons. After a while, the girl realized that the prince had been poisoned by the poison of barking. Leica was a flower of purple color. Its poison was put into human food in small doses. The poison acted slowly, robbing the victim of his life force. The flower was extremely rare, so it was hard to obtain. Since the poisoner decided to use this particular poison, it's likely that he wants Gilbert to gradually weaken and eventually die. If my magic stops working, he might be seriously hurt. When Gilbert opened his eyes in the morning, he saw the cat. It was the first time she had stayed at his place overnight. What are you going to do? Are you going to stay here or go about your business? Asked the cat Gilbert before leaving. Claire climbed up on Gilbert's shoulder and meowed loudly. Do you want to come with me? Okay, let's go, but I think some people will be against it. Try to behave, asked the prince. I'm pretty sure someone is putting poison in Gilbert's food. If I'm around him all the time, I can figure out who's doing it. And if I stay here or go home, I won't be able to catch the culprit. Claire thought to herself. Gilbert entered the knight's dining hall. All the knights gave him a friendly greeting. Gilbert asked the cook to pour food not only for him, but also for his cat. Claire noticed that the cooks were pouring food for all the knights from the same large container. The girl concluded that Gilbert was probably being poisoned somewhere other than here. Look, and I enjoyed eating with you, so we'll have lunch and dinner together too, said Gilbert to the cat after breakfast. Gilbert then went to the training arena. Claire felt a little fear. She had never been in a place where there were only men. It's all right. The guys, even though they look scary, they're all actually kind, so don't be afraid, calmed the cat Gilbert. Sit here. I need to practice. I can't take you with me because you might accidentally get hurt. Gilbert put the cat on the bench and himself picked up his practice sword. Several people came out at once to fight Gilbert. In the crowd of guys, Claire saw the guy who had grabbed her arm at that ball and dragged her to jail. The girl had never thought that this man was a noble knight. Gilbert's day turned out to be extremely busy. He met with people, went to meetings, worked with documents. The girl noted to herself that Gilbert does everything quickly and accurately, 100 times better than Oliver. The girl also noticed that Gilbert did not let people get close to him. If anyone came to his office, it was only on business. Even when Gilbert was surrounded by people, he still looked lonely. I wonder if Gilbert has always been like this. If I remember correctly, we met him 7 years ago. We talked to him about books back then. The interesting thing is that he seemed more open to me then than he does now. Claire thought to herself. The maids came into Gilbert's study and offered him some tea, before giving the cake to the prince, and one of the maids tasted it. Claire realized that it was unlikely to poison the prince here as well. Claire touched the prince again. There was poison in his body. But where did it come from? He couldn't have been poisoned in the dining room, as pouring poison personally into the prince's plate would be extremely difficult. Most likely the poison is in the tea the prince drinks. It's not in the cake since I ate it. The poison is put in the cups in small amounts so that the maids won't get poisoned when they drink it. Since the maids change every day, they don't feel the effects of the poison on themselves. It turned out to be more complicated than I thought. So what am I supposed to do now? The girl thought wistfully. The next day, Gilbert had the day off, so he went to visit. The prince took the cat with him. "It's been a long time, Your Highness. How are you feeling?" A guy with glasses greeted the prince. "Philip, you're right. It's been a long time since we last saw you. And stop talking to me like that. It's really annoying," Gilbert replied. "Well, what can I do? You already know. Those are the rules. By the way, I never would have thought that you still have a love for animals as well. I remember that you cared for Mrs. Mary's familiar too," Philip said with a smile. Claire remembered where she had seen this smiling guy before. He was invited to give a lecture at the Royal Academy. He is a famous researcher in the field of medicine, and he is an earl. Philip led the prince into a spacious, bright room. Claire saw a blonde woman sleeping on the bed. "She's lost even more weight," mumbled the prince. "I agree with you. She woke up recently, but she hasn't been awake for more than an hour. I've been trying to get her to eat more, but she's barely getting anything in her," narrated Philip. "Constance, it's me, Gilbert. I've come to check on you. By the way, Philip, did you manage to find out anything about the cause of her illness?" asked the prince to his mate. Philip answered him that at the moment he did not know the cause of the illness, nor how to treat it. "It sounds like they are friends at the very least. Gilbert is trying to cure her, but he doesn't know how. Maybe with my magic and I can identify the disease," thought Claire, and jumped off the prince's shoulder and onto the bed. Touching the girl, Claire felt that she was cursed. Only Ram possessed such magic. But I can't believe that the curse was put on this girl by Ram. She's not like that. She can't harm anyone. There must be someone else who has that kind of magic. Someone I don't know anything about. Looking out the window, Philip announced loudly that the Marquee had arrived at the manor. "Very well. I'll have a little chat with him." Gilbert lifted the cat off the bed and sat it on his shoulder. "How are you doing? Heard you did well on the eastern border," noted the Marquis. "That's more of an exaggeration. I didn't do anything special." Showing modesty, the prince replied. Claire noted to herself that the Marquis sitting across from her looked a lot like that damned blonde. He was most likely her father. "I'm sure you've had time to check on my daughter by now. She used to be unable to sleep more than 3 hours a day, but now she only wakes up for 1 hour. She hardly eats anything. Perhaps it's time for me and my spouse to start mentally preparing for the worst," said the Marquis. "You have always been kind to my daughter. If you had not introduced us to Philip, her life would have been cut short long ago. He did a lot for us, and like you, he became attached to our daughter. But you know, Gilbert, it's time for you to let her go and find freedom. 7 years ago, when that accident happened, my daughter and your mother were just unlucky, that's all. Besides, Constance was only one of her potential brides. You don't need to keep coming here. It's not your fault at all." Claire remembered that 7 years ago, Gilbert's mother and the Marquis's daughter had been riding in a wagon that had fallen off a cliff as a result of mismanagement. Gilbert's mother had suffered the worst of the fall and had died on the spot. Constance survived the accident. There was a rumor going around the capital that the girl was bedridden and getting worse every day. I didn't realize Constance was Gilbert's fiance. Surely he must have been in love with her for a long time. He became known as the catcher because he couldn't pick just one girl. I can see why. He still can't let Constance go. Claire guessed. People think the prince is too lovable, but really he doesn't need anyone else. He remains faithful to his bride. Suddenly, the girl felt a painful prickling in her chest. She guessed she was jealous of Gilbert for his fiance. Claire, you look a little glum today. Did something happen? If you want, I can hear you out, Noah offered. Answer me a question. If the man you were in love with loved someone else, what would you do? Asked Claire. The girl realized that nothing could happen between her and Gilbert. A prince and a witch was a failed union. I would have fought until the very end, Noah said with defiance in her voice. If you love someone, you have to be willing to fight. That's the obvious thing to do. But if he's happy with the one he loves now, it's best to let him go. If you want him to be happy, that's the best option. Noah's right. Why am I even thinking about this? I want my loved one to be happy. It's perfectly simple. I shouldn't even think about it, Claire thought to herself. The girl snuck into the knight's dormitory and assumed her human form. Claire slipped a letter under Gilbert's door. The girl wrote in it that lately she had a terrible dream every day. In it, the maids offer the prince a fragrant tea in a blue cup. But this tea is not plain. It resolves forces. Perhaps I'm having strange dreams because I haven't been sleeping well lately. Maybe I should ask a witch for help. But they say that if a witch puts a curse on you, you can only stay awake for an hour a day. Claire wrote, It would take a witch's potion to break the curse. I guess that's not an option for me. I'll think of some other ways to solve the problem. It's getting cold outside lately, so dress warmly. This letter was written to you by a girl who loves you with all her heart. Claire knew that the treasury of the royal palace held a witch's potion that could cure the curse. The girl was sure that Gilbert would be able to get that potion. This is the end of my work. I will never see Gilbert again. When I think about it, I feel like my heart is about to burst. But it's for the best. Claire took on the appearance of a cat again and sprinted out of the knight's dormitory. And what are these documents? Oliver asked in a disgruntled tone. I've already told you. The annual plan needs to be redone, and it needs to be resolved as soon as possible. There were 2 unforeseen incidents this year, a monster population outbreak and a major landslide. Narrated Mike. Claire used to handle all these documents. Now that she's gone, it's up to you to do it. And I'm ordering you as my deputy to redo it all, said Prince Oliver. I refuse to do it. I have been doing your work that month as it is. Take over at least some of it. Stop running away from responsibility all the time, Your Highness, replied Mike. If you continue to do so, I will tell the Duke's family about your shenanigans. We will also be forced to oppose the Queen's point of view, and we won't be the only ones. I can't throw your work over to other people anymore. They can barely handle their own duties as it is. All of the student council members are from the high-ranking aristocracy. It would be best if they didn't protest. Oliver thought to himself, Damn, why is everything falling apart for me lately? Carol's the only one who stayed on my side. It's been over a week, and I can't stop thinking about Gilbert. I never thought he would have such an effect on me. Claire looked longingly up at the frowning gray sky. I have no luck with men. I had an idiot prince in my life in the beginning, and now my first love can't get over another girl. I must always remember that I am a witch. Our union is doomed to fail. Thanks to Gilbert, I was able to realize that not all men are bad. There are still men in this world that I can fall in love with. I should get over him as soon as possible and move on. Since I was able to save up some money from selling my potions, I'll be able to travel now. I'll go to the towns and villages I've read about in books and enjoy the delicious food there. Suddenly, there was a knock on the doors. Opening them, Claire saw Gilbert and Noah. Claire made a colossal effort to suppress the emotion raging inside. The girl offered the prince some tea. Noah told Claire that the prince had come to their store on someone's recommendation. Since the girl was unable to break the curse, she decided to enlist Claire's help. I thought you two might know each other since this letter had your scent coming from it. And your handwriting. I figured you should be the one to help him with the antidote, Noah explained. Claire, have you been living in this house all this time? Asked Gilbert to the girl. Yes, and as you have probably guessed by now, I am a witch, replied the girl. I figured that out. No wonder you couldn't use magic. Look, you're the one who wrote that letter, aren't you? At least I think so. Gilbert held out an envelope to the girl. Yes, I wrote it, Claire replied. And how did you know what you wrote in this letter? Asked Gilbert. The girl had to lie about being visited by visions lately. She had seen it all in her dreams. I see. First, let me thank you for your help. You were right. The curse and the poisoning were true. There were 20 maids working in the Knights Corps, and as it turned out, half of them were fake. I really was poisoned through tea. About the curse, Philip guessed it, but had no way of verifying it. But the antidote is kept in the royal family's treasury. Why did you come to the store to get it? Asked the girl. Yes, it is indeed stored there, but asking for it for personal use is quite troublesome. I recently heard that there is a witch's store in a neighboring kingdom, so I decided to go there, explained the prince. I see. I'll prepare a curse cure for you. The only thing is you'll have to wait a bit. I won't be able to make it right now since I'll need rare materials that we don't have, said Claire. This book says that there are 3 ways to break a curse. First, the curse can be broken by the one who put it on. Second, it can be done by any other witch. Third, an antidote can be prepared. Why using the first option won't work, I don't think I need to tell you. As for the second option, I may indeed be able to break the curse on my own, but it will take a long time. And I can't guarantee it'll be without consequences. That leaves the third and most reliable option. The curse potion is called a cure, but it's essentially incense to be inhaled through the nose. It requires 12 ingredients, and they're all very rare. Write me a list of ingredients. I'll be sure to get them all, said the prince to the girl. It would be nice if you could get even more than you need. Some of the ingredients I'll be working with for the first time, so it's best to be reassured, Claire pointed out. I think we'd better make a witch's contract, suggested Gilbert. The girl declined to do so. She promised to charge the prince only money for her work. I'm glad you've been able to live a quiet life. All this time, I was worried about you. I had absolutely no idea what had become of you. I'm really glad you found a good place for you and trustworthy friends, said Gilbert to the girl. Are you wondering what became of the academy in your absence? No one has probably told you, but things are bad there. Oliver has become president of the student council. That's how he's trying to restore his reputation. But instead of gaining people's respect by his actions, he's just bribing the students. Carol is fine. I heard that she's currently receiving a princess education. She's even organized her own faction. Carol's main tools are harassment, bullying, and intimidation. Also know that the Queen is secretly trying to find you, but I think you can live peacefully here. She won't come looking for you here. Gilbert and Claire spent the rest of their time having quite a bit of fun. They reminisced about their school days, talked about the academy, and joked around a lot. As dusk began to fall, Gilbert went home. Claire was glad that she still managed to meet him again. I need to calm down and get all my feelings and emotions under control. This is my job. He's just a client Noah brought in. I have to work with a cold heart and mind, or I'll make a mistake. Claire thought to herself. I didn't think I'd meet her here. Glad she's okay. Freedom is much more to her liking, Gilbert thought to himself. 7 years ago, when Gilbert had traveled with his mother to the Margraviate, he had first met Claire there. That day, she seemed extremely strange to him. Claire didn't care at all about the beautiful stories of beautiful princes and delicate princesses that girls her age were so fond of. While her father was busy researching, she read adventure stories and books about faraway lands. Claire was more into playing catch-up and laughing merrily than being at boring tea parties. She was a lady who didn't act like a lady. Many young girls were fond of various dressy dresses and accessories, but Claire just loved studying antique maps. Sometimes Gilbert thought that it would be nice to be friends with Claire forever. She could brighten any gray day with her laughter. A few months later, Gilbert's mother died in a carriage accident. And a few days later, Oliver and Claire's engagement was announced. Gilbert decided to back off. He figured that if Claire married Oliver, she would be happier. A couple years later, Gilbert ran into Claire at the academy. Always smiling and glowing with happiness, Claire walked past him with a gloomy look. Behind him, Gilbert learned that it was all because of the Queen and her strict etiquette teacher. It was because of them that Claire's smile went out. Gilbert also learned that Oliver was treating his fiancé like a slave. The Queen kept saying that Claire was a tool to promote her son. At the same time, someone started a rumor that Gilbert is a real womanizer. Gilbert saw that Claire was avoiding him, so he silently watched from the sidelines. When Gilbert saw the girl at night in the garden, he couldn't detain her. He let her avoid. He knew that Claire certainly didn't deserve to be behind bars, and she shouldn't be at the beck and call of the stupid and selfish Oliver. After Claire had escaped safely, Gilbert had joined the search for her with an innocent face. He bought enough time for the girl to escape. The next day, Gilbert found out what really happened. It turned out that his brother Oliver, in the face of everyone at the ball, canceled the engagement and slandered Claire. Later, orders came to the Knights' Corps to find Claire by any means necessary. When she opened the door for me at the witch's house, I was surprised as hell. Who would have thought she was hiding so close to the capital? Now I'm finally at peace with her, thought Gilbert, admiring the sunset. The gloomy and emotionless Claire doll finally got her joyful smile back. We talked to her like we did when we met as children. I'm glad she's laughing again. I feel a real sense of relief. Claire bought herself a new dress. She also changed her natural eye and hair color with the help of magic. Now it was safe to hit the road. She had to go with Gilbert to get the missing ingredients. Gilbert insisted that the girl address him as you and call him Gil. The prince was able to gather almost all the ingredients. Only the moonflower nectar and azure scales were missing. It turned out that only a witch could get the nectar. Gilbert found out that moonflowers grow near the sea. They bloom only on a moonlit night, and after only a few hours, the flowers fall. To successfully collect the nectar, a witch's power is needed. The weather has been clear for the past few days. I really hope we can catch the moon. The only thing left is for us to find a place where the moonflowers bloom, said Claire when Gilbert came to visit her a few days ago. Since it was extremely long and dangerous to travel by carriage, it was decided to go on horseback. It's great to go on a trip with someone you really love. The only thing that makes me sad is that he's doing all this for the one he loves, Claire thought sadly. When I agreed to ride with Gilbert on the same horse, I never imagined we'd be sitting so close together. But then again, in the guise of a cat, I rode him all the time. He also liked to scratch my ear, so I need to calm down and relax. You're flushed. Do you have a fever? Gilbert asked unexpectedly. The girl froze fearfully. For the rest of the ride, she sat without moving. Toward evening, Gilbert and Claire reached the town of Molben. They decided to spend the night at a local inn. After dinner, Gilbert suggested to the girl to take a walk around the town. 3 months ago, I returned from a hike. I believe that I deserve a vacation. If I don't rest, I'll soon go insane. By the way, Claire, can you use magic to find things? Asked Gilbert to the girl. And what do you need to find? Claire inquired. Gilbert told her that he was looking for a gray cat. He hadn't seen her in a few days, so he was worried. What if she just decided to go back to her owners? I'm sure she's fine, Claire said with a smile. I've been feeding her for a few days, and I'd like to point out that her appetite has been pretty serious. I'm worried that she's gotten too trusting of people. She could get into trouble because of it, explained Gilbert. Claire promised the prince that she would be sure to look for his cat when she had a spare moment. The next day, Gilbert went into town to gather information. He had to find out where moonflowers grew in the area. Claire, on the other hand, stayed in the room. She was glad to see Gilbert's face smiling more often. Earlier, he reminded her of a sculpture. His expression almost never changed. When the girl saw the smile on the prince's face, she felt warmth in her soul. I'm happy, but at the same time it becomes heavy on my heart. I really want our companionship to last forever, But unfortunately, the journey is already coming to an end. For Gil's sake, I must make the best of it. I will save his Constance." When Gilbert and Claire arrived at the seashore late at night, they saw a large clearing dotted with moonlit flowers. It seemed unreal, as if it were all from a fairy tale. The flowers resembled large pearls. They also glistened and shimmered. "Claire, do you like pearls?" asked Gilbert. The girl answered him that of all the gems, pearls were her favorite. An hour later, Claire had managed to gather the nectar of the moonflowers. Now, all that was left of the missing ingredients was azure scales. "Gil, why aren't you refuting the rumors others are spreading about you? What I'm talking about right now is that many people call you a true catcher. You're not. Why do you allow other people to say such things?" Claire asked. "I was watching you at the hotel. There were so many beautiful girls around, but you didn't even pay attention to them. If you were a catcher, you wouldn't miss a single skirt. The rumor that I like women went around a long time ago. I was perplexed at first as to what was going on, but then I realized it was quite convenient. The number of marriage proposals went down several-fold. That's how I was able to attend the night academy," Gilbert replied. "Under the pretense of going out to have fun, no one prevented me from attending the knighthood. One of the conditions when you become a knight is that you can't choose your own bride. So it even benefits me that no one really falls in love with me." "Well, what about the throne? You have to be married to sit on the throne," reminded Claire. "Actually, I don't want to be king. I originally wanted to give up the throne, but then I had reasons to keep fighting for it," explained Gilbert. "Okay, that's enough exciting life stories for today. Let's go quickly. The main gates of the city will close at midnight. If we want to spend the night at the inn, we need to hurry." Gilbert held out his hand to the girl. Claire put her palm into Gilbert's hand. The prince helped her onto the horse. As the girl studied the saddle, Gilbert gave her a big hug. Carol was very lucky in life. First of all, she was born into the family of Baron Maglii. He was rich and had lands near the capital. Secondly, she had a beautiful face. In the school where she grew up, she was treated well by absolutely everyone. The students competed with each other to please Carol and to please her. If a girl didn't like someone, the whole school turned against that person. She was the best student. Teachers constantly praised her. Since there were no difficulties in the girl's life, she began to consider herself the chosen one. Everything changed when Carol entered the Royal Academy. Here she was of the lowest rank. The girl could not find friends, and no one cared about her. Of course, because of her pretty face in the academy, guys often met her, but as soon as they got to know her better, they immediately left. The girl's grades had deteriorated, and she was a long way from the top spots. After a few years, Carol was lucky again. The fourth prince, Oliver, fell in love with her. When they became friends, the people around her immediately changed their attitude towards her. It was clear to everyone that Carol was a candidate to marry Oliver. Carol decided to form her own faction. She and the other members of her faction harassed the children of the lower class. They trampled on those who disrespected Carol. The girl began to live the life she had always dreamed of. At the academy, Carol often pestered Claire. The latter told the girl how she should dress and treat other students. This really pissed Carol off. In Carol's eyes, Claire was an ordinary upstart who was lucky to be born into a powerful family. Carol knew very well that Claire's fiance, Oliver, did not see her as a woman. Carol felt that Claire had no right to admonish her because she was the chosen one. Carol was really hoping that the incident at the ball would ruin Claire's reputation, but it didn't go the way she expected. Claire was able to fight them back. After that, many of the girls at the academy started to look down on Carol. Carol decided not to give up. She tightened her grades, became more responsible for the choice of friends. The girl continued to communicate with Oliver, although it was given to her extremely hard. Recently, he began to throw his work at her. One day, Carol went to the parade in honor of the return of the third Prince Gilbert and fell in love with him up to her ears. The girl was struck by Gilbert's bright eyes and his black as tar hair. The third prince looked extreme bravery. Carol decided that she was destined by fate to be by Gilbert's side. Carol knew that Gilbert was unlikely to become king, as he refused to marry. The girl agreed to marry him even though she would never become queen. Carol hoped that when Claire was found, she would agree to be Oliver's bride again. While Claire solves Oliver's problems, in the meantime, I'll make eyes at Gilbert and run away with him, Carol thought to herself. A few days later, Claire was able to create a cure for the curse. The cure was shaped like a cone. It was to be set on fire near the cursed person. The girl really hoped that her cure would work. Claire needed to give the cure to Gilbert, but she didn't want to do it personally. The girl was sure that they should stop communicating. First of all, he already had a fiance, and secondly, no one should know that he was communicating with a witch. If someone got wind of Gilbert's contact with a witch, his position could be severely shaken. This will be my last help to him. I will give him the cure without any regrets. During our journey, I finally realized my feelings. Therefore, now is the right time to stop everything. I need to stay determined. Claire sneaked into Gilbert's room and left him a box of medicine and a letter. In the letter, the girl described in detail how to properly use the medicine. Afterward, the girl took on the appearance of a cat and decided to stay in Gilbert's room. She decided to wait for him to be completely sure that no one else would take the medicine. When Gilbert entered the room, he saw a package left by Claire. He took out the letter and began to scrutinize it. Gilbert noticed a gray cat in the room. It was sitting on the windowsill behind the curtain. Gilbert walked over to the cat and petted it. Gilbert picked up the cat and went with it to Constance. And I've decided not to see him anymore. Maybe it's a trick of fate? All right, I'll see this through to the end. I'll make sure the treatment goes smoothly. I have to make sure the cure really works. Claire thought to herself. What are you doing here so late? Besides, you and I have already seen each other today. Philip exclaimed, surprised to see his buddy Gilbert on the doorstep. Remember we talked to you that Constance might have been cursed? Well, I managed to find a cure for the curse. I found some incense that might be able to help us. I think we should try it, replied Gilbert to his friend. Are you sure this medicine is safe? Asked Philip. Yes, I got it from the person I trust the most in the world. In addition, we won't lose anything if we try it, replied Gilbert. Marquee also decided to try the drug in question. He no longer wanted to watch the life slowly fading away in his daughter's eyes. Gilbert set one of the pyramids of the drug on fire and placed it on the bedside table next to Constance's bed. The sweet and pleasant fragrance is like burning a scented candle. This fragrance soothes the soul and makes you a little sleepy, said the Marquis. Claire noticed that Constance's face became more peaceful. Claire really hoped that by tomorrow the girl would feel better. Claire felt faint. Climbing into Gilbert's arms, the girl fell asleep soundly. It seems that this smell is like a sleeping pill for a cat. No wonder, since her body is very small. Better take her outside for some air. Philip advised his buddy Gilbert. When Gilbert took the cat outside, it immediately took the form of a girl. Claire woke up in Ram's room. Why am I here? What happened yesterday? Wait. I fell asleep last night right in Gilbert's arms. Why did I go back to my appearance? What's even going on? Frightened, the girl thought. Going down to the kitchen, Claire saw Gilbert near the stove. He was preparing some flavorful dish. Good morning, Claire. You're finally awake, said Gilbert to the girl. After a few minutes, Gilbert placed several dishes on the table in front of the girl. All the food looked extremely appetizing. The cat that fell asleep yesterday because of the incense, after I took it outside, somehow turned into you. Philip examined you. You were just sleeping. In the capital, I accidentally found a magic circle that moved me to your house, told the girl Gilbert. Blushing, Claire covered her face with her hands. She was embarrassed that Gilbert had found out that she was the cat that often came to his room. Even though it was essentially an emergency, I still entered your home without permission. I apologize for that, said Gilbert to the girl. Afterward, he got up from the table and went to get his cloak. Aren't you going to ask me anything? Marveled Claire. What should I ask you? clarified Gilbert. I don't have anything to ask you. You fell asleep in my arms last night, and I brought you into your house. That was the end of it. I'll visit you again tonight. Promised Gilbert and left the house. In the evening, Gilbert brought a large amount of delicious food. He told the girl that he wanted to have dinner with her. He's kind of strange. Decided to ignore the current situation. And why is he here and not next to Constanza? Why didn't he stay with her until she's fully recovered? Thought to herself Claire, looking at Gilbert. By the way, Philip contacted me recently. It seems that after a few hours, Constance may finally come to her senses. Your medicine is really helping. Philip mentioned that the girl's complexion has improved. Narrated Gilbert. The last time I was at Constance's house, I noticed that her lips were a bright scarlet color. It was written in the book that this is possible when the curse begins to progress. Right now, your lips are the same scarlet color. Claire ran over to the mirror. Gilbert was right. Her lips were bright red. I see. So Gilbert wants to finally get his reward. Smiling sweetly, the Queen clarified. Yes, he refused before. Now he's changed his mind, replied the counselor. All right, you can go. I'll take care of it myself. Continuing to smile, said the Queen. Finally, he decided to show his true colors. Claire went missing a year ago. Oliver's reputation immediately went down the drain. The Queen hissed angrily. Unfortunately, my idiot son couldn't do anything about it. I even had to hire a man to secretly do Oliver's work. A year passed, but my son remained a useless idiot. No matter how hard I worked my ass off, all my efforts were in vain. They even started calling him Useless Prince. People started saying that he drove Claire out of the kingdom. This further damaged his reputation. Gilbert's reputation, on the other hand, began to grow upwards. The number of aristocrats who support him increased. Now Gilbert has the nerve to ask for the reward he refused for so long. If this continues, he will definitely become the new king. I can't let him on the throne. We need to come up with something immediately. If Claire were here, this definitely wouldn't have happened. The counselor entered the Queen's office again. He announced that the Margrave's daughter, Claire, had been found. The award ceremony for the third Prince Gilbert was held in the main hall of the palace. He received an emerald medal. His Highness Gilbert has saved many lives on the eastern border. He has achieved many successes. His Highness has been the commander of the army for many years. The host of the ceremony spoke in a loud voice. Claire excitedly looked in the mirror. It had been a long time since she had attended any council gala. A lot has changed in the entire past year. That time at the ball, Oliver spoke of breaking off the engagement, but it is tonight that it will be finalized. I really hope the outcome will be positive. Noah walked over to the girl and handed her a necklace adorned with pearls. She said that it was the necklace that the prince had given her. Did he really remember what I told him about the pearls? Claire wondered. Gilbert entered the room. He froze in place in surprise. He had never seen Claire so beautiful. The awards ceremony is over now. We should go to the Great Hall. The ball is about to begin. Are you ready? Gilbert took Claire's hand and led her into the ballroom. In the past, when I obeyed the Queen, my hairstyle was always strict. It was forbidden for me to let my hair down or make bangs. I always wore only solid-colored, off-color dresses. Makeup and jewelry were forbidden, thought Claire walking down the hallway. Everything I'm wearing now was given to me by Gilbert. He was the one who gave me this dress and jewelry. Yury did my makeup, and Noah did my hair. My life is finally what I want it to be. Don't worry about anything for now. Enjoy the ball. But then, unfortunately, I'll have to do some things. But don't worry unnecessarily. Everything will be fine. And if anything goes wrong, I'll step in. The prince promised the girl. Outside the ballroom, Claire was met by her father. The girl took him by the hand, and they entered the hall together. Would you look at that? It's Mistress Claire. I was told she was undergoing treatment. I wonder what really happened. She has changed a lot. She has become much more beautiful. The people present in the hall whispered. Claire, long time no see, said the girl as the Queen approached. Wow, how you have changed. You have a very beautiful dress and gorgeous hair. That beautiful necklace suits you very well. Why don't you wear your normal hair and dress anymore? Okay, I'll forgive you this time, but next time, be more careful. You need to remember that you are still Oliver's fiance. Your engagement is still on. Your Majesty, have you forgotten what we talked about the other day? We decided with you that the engagement should be broken off. If you've forgotten that, we'll seal the dissolution right here. The Margrave decided to stand up for his daughter. Of course, I am mindful of that. But I think we need to consider Claire's opinion. We don't know if she wants to break the engagement. Personally, I want Claire to be my son's spouse. The engagement should stay on. The Queen expressed her opinion. The arrival of His Majesty, the King, was loudly announced in the hall. I believe there is nothing to decide, so you will say that the engagement will not be broken off. Through gritted teeth, the Queen hissed angrily. Claire didn't say anything to her, for she had always obeyed her orders without question before. With a vicious snort, the Queen walked past Claire. The girl pretended to accept the Queen's words. "Mother, why would I want an engagement with this girl? I'm against it!" exclaimed Prince Oliver, who had come up to the Queen. "You should have realized everything this year. No one but Claire can become a princess. That's why this engagement is necessary. If you want to be king, you need a worthy consort," the Queen explained to her son. "But Carol, why can't she be my wife?" Oliver wondered. "Yes, I completely agree with your mother, though it is hard for me to admit it. I realize that Claire is better than me in many ways," said Carol in a sad voice. "Carol, how can you say that?" resented Oliver. "I'm sorry, Oliver. I won't make a decent princess," said the girl. Deep down, she was glad that she had a chance to finally break things off with Oliver. The infantile prince was boring her already. "Carol, if you wish, you may remain my son's concubine," suggested the Queen. "No, if that's the way it is, I can't stay by Oliver's side," replied Carol. "Carol, you can't do this to me," resented Oliver, but the girl was no longer listening to him. Constance entered the hall. Those present gasped in surprise. "All this time, while I lay unconscious, I wanted to tell you something important. The knights who protected me and Mistress Mary fought to the very end like true heroes," Constance said in a loud voice. "Now I can tell you what really happened. It was raining heavily that day, and one of the knights shouted that we were under attack. The carriage began to accelerate, and when it reached the cliff, it stopped abruptly. From the carriage window, I saw a woman in a dark blue cloak appear on the road. One of the knights approached her and asked her to get out of the way, but she wouldn't listen to him. The woman yelled something, and the horse went wild. We flew off the cliff. When I opened my eyes again, I saw a woman in front of me. She put her hand on my head and cast a spell. She promised that in a few years a man would come into my life who could cure me. Also, that woman told me that it was the Queen's fault that I had an accident. Turns out I was a liability. That's what I expected to hear, but it's all empty words. You have absolutely no proof whatsoever, the Queen said in a calm voice. But for I have heard everything. When I was a little girl, I saw the Queen talking to a witch with red hair and a dark blue cloak. She asked the witch to make everything so that those around her would think it was an accident, exclaimed Claire. What kind of nonsense are you saying now? When you were little, you could have made up some fairy tales for yourself. Your words are not proof. Smiling softly, the Queen said, Do you really think I just decided to bring you out for nothing? It's unlikely I'd act that way without hard evidence, Claire pointed out. Claire handed the king the contract sphere. It was the one on which the contract between the red-haired witch and the Queen was written. It's all lies. It's some kind of machinations. Exasperatedly, the Queen stammered. It's nothing of the sort. Your words are clearly written on this sphere. Making excuses at this point is pointless, said the king, and ordered the guards to take the Queen away to the dungeon. Claire stepped out onto the terrace to quell her raging emotions. When Ram helped me out of the dungeon, she told me that I was now in her debt. Did she have it all planned back then? Claire thought to herself. Come to think of it, she often told me about various curses. She also often handed me the ingredients for the curse cure. She may have traveled unexpectedly to force me to break the curse. Gilbert, Philip, and Constance came out onto the terrace. Gilbert has often told me about you. Thank you for curing me, Constance exclaimed. No need for thanks. I did nothing of the sort. Thanks to this event, I was able to get rid of my curse, too. Now the two of us can breathe easy now, said Claire to the girl. I'm glad you were finally able to get out of bed and attend the event. Surely a lot has changed, right? Of course, I was so surprised to see my father aged. But Mom is still beautiful. It's like time has stopped for her. Smiling happily, Constance said, Mr. Gilbert, there you are. I've been looking all over for you. Carol appeared on the terrace. I didn't know the Queen was capable of such a thing. It makes me very sad to realize it. It must be very difficult for you, too. Mistress Claire, I'm sorry for what we had with Oliver. I hope you will be happily married. I must have misunderstood something. But aren't you supposed to marry Oliver? Clarified Claire. You see, Claire, I recently realized that I would make a worthless princess, so forgive me for everything, replied Carol. No, you're probably the one who misunderstood something. I'm breaking my engagement to Oliver. He is now single. There's nothing tying us together anymore, so you can feel free to keep him. I don't need him, said Claire to the girl. Prince Oliver came out onto the terrace. He decided to ask Gilbert's forgiveness for his mother's behavior. You don't need to apologize to me. You better apologize to Claire, said Gilbert. Oliver bowed low in front of Claire. The girl didn't expect such a thing from the fourth prince. It has been decided to send my mother to a convent in the east. My father is sending me to a neighboring village to keep an eye on her. Carol, my father has signed the document of our engagement. You will now come with me, Oliver announced. What are you talking about? I don't want to go to any village. Why is it that Claire is the reason my life is in trouble again? If she had stayed your fiancé, things would have been so much better, Carol exclaimed. I realize you don't like it much, but in time, you'll get used to it. And I promise you that no one will bother us in the village. It will be just the two of us. Oliver took Carol's hands and led the kicking girl behind him. A week later, the red-haired witch Ram was reported missing. Did you really decide to leave here? Yury asked the girl. Yes, I decided that a long time ago. I have saved a small amount of money and now I am going on a journey. I need to find a home where I can further develop my skills. Claire replied. From Ram's sphere, I understand that she just wanted to protect her home and this forest. She was driven to kill. Not that I approve of her action, but I believe she had a hard time. I heard that the aristocrats intend to burn down this forest and Ram's house. Soon there won't be a trace of this place left. By the way, are you sure you should have parted ways with Prince Gilbert? You gave him back all his presents, just left him a letter and left. Doesn't that seem cruel to you? Yury asked. No matter what I say, a farewell remains a farewell. Now Gilbert will be the next king, and I will always be the witch everyone hates. Of course, I realize that if I don't use magic, no one will know I'm a witch, but it's still not worth the risk. And besides, if my magical power is already out there, is there any point in hiding it now? Is that what I want? I don't want to cause trouble for myself or Gilbert. He will always remain in my memory as a good friend and my favorite person. I am very grateful for Gilbert's help, and I hope he will do well. I believe he will be a great king, and Constance will always be by his side. She is a sweet and wise girl. She is perfect for him. If you need any help, you should definitely come to us. We will always help you, said Yury before leaving. The next day, coming out of the cave, Claire saw Gilbert. Good morning, Claire. The girl guessed that Yury and Noah had told the prince about her departure. It'll look stupid, but I'd better pretend I don't understand what's going on right now. Claire decided for herself. And to you, good morning. Why are you here? Asked the girl. I went to your witch friend's shop and asked her to help me contact you. That is why I am here. I have 3 things to tell you, replied Gilbert to the girl. "First, I am now the master of this forest. I received it as a reward for my service. It turns out that this land no longer had an owner after the incident with the queen. It's said that a murderer used to live here, so I was given this forest with no problem. Maybe you want to stay here to live? I know you like this forest. This forest was going to be burned down before, but I'm not going to do anything here. It's going to stay the way it is. Second, I want to take an extended vacation. It will last 3 months. You can imagine, I've just found out that a girl has decided to take a reckless trip alone. I feel I should keep her company. Since this girl often confuses north and south, I'm afraid she might get lost. On no account should she be allowed to go alone. Wait, maybe as the captain of the knights you won't have a job for now, but the crown prince's duty isn't going anywhere, right? Claire asked. Her father had recently sent a letter telling her that Gilbert was guaranteed to take the throne. He's going to have a lot on his plate right now. He won't have time for a vacation, Claire thought to herself. I've given up the throne, Gilbert confessed, much to the girl's surprise. I never intended to become king. I didn't give up the throne just to prevent the queen from putting her son on the throne. Now that the problem is solved, I have given it up. But who will lead the country? Claire asked. Oliver's younger sister, Rose. She's a very talented girl. I decided she would be perfect for the role of queen, replied Gilbert. Well, what about Constance? She's your fiancée. What will happen to her? Asked another question Claire asked. She's just a childhood friend of mine, and she and Philip are going to announce their engagement soon. They've spent a lot of time sharing joys and sorrows. A spark has flared up between them, narrated Gilbert. And now it's time to tell you about the third piece of news. I have recently realized that I am in love with you. I'm certainly pleased to hear those words, but I'm a witch, reminded Claire. I'm aware of that. Freedom and being a witch are both good for you. I love everything about you. Gilbert dropped to one knee in front of the girl and gently took her hand. But I don't know what we're going to talk to you about, since you and I have different statuses, said a blushing Claire. I'm fine with silence as well. By the way, there are many ways to spend time besides talking. I love you with all my heart, so I promise to protect you and your freedom. For starters, I will be your chaperone on this journey. Rely on me, my dear witch. All right, you've got it. But first, show me which way is north, asked Claire. Give me your hand and I'll walk you to the carriage that will take us on a magnificent journey, said Gilbert to the girl. You know, and I'm already glad I took such a competent man on the journey. Laughing merrily, Claire said. The girl had never dreamed that she would someday travel the world with Gilbert. Now she would be able to realize her dream in the company of her favorite man.